Good afternoon, students. Welcome back here for the session of business research methodology. We are here to continue with the remaining of the course policy. Today we are here to talk some things about the managerial research. Basically within the business organization, obviously the manager would be concerning toward the different type of investigation to be done within the business organization for the purpose of finding the specific answers and solutions to the problem within the business organization. So respectively here there are some of the bullet points which are concerned with the managers during the research. The first thing is that the manager must be having the identifications and effectively skills in order to find the problem and issue and find a specific solution for that one. And the second thing is knowledge of that particular research must be there with the manager of that particular department. So without the knowledge, obviously someone cannot do the particular and concise and specific research toward an issue. The other thing is that the manager must be having different consultant or having the different advice and ideas of the different employees who are working within the business organization. The other thing is that the manager must be calculating, apart from the research, he or she must be having an idea of risk, what are the different risks to be involved during these investigations. And the other thing is that the manager must be hiring the specific employees to the specific positions or job that must be effectively, because when the employees are right for the right job, obviously the output and the efficiency of the work would be high. And the other thing is that the manager must be combining the experience along with the knowledge. It means that the practical as well as the theoretical knowledge must be combined together, aggregate together, and go ahead towards some of the investigation within the business organizations. So there would be some of the advantages and disadvantages, or some of the internal and external consultant on the research. As I said, that the manager must be having some of the ideas, some of the advices, some of the info from the people within the business organizations or outside of the business organizations. So particularly internal versus external consultant refers to the ideas, the suggestions, the view, the experience and the knowledge of the internal people, particularly three levels of the management, which is concerned as the internal, and the advices and the knowledge and experience and the thoughts of the outsiders, which could be considered as a consumer and customers, competitors, and other people. So let's talk some things about the internal consultants for the researchers. Who would be the internal consultant? So some of the organizations have their own consulting or research department, which might be called the management services department to the organization method of the department or R&D. Exactly, if you have heard, in most of the business organization there is a department by the name of R&D, and means that research and developments. So that particular department is always dedicated for the purpose of collecting the different ideas, view, the thoughts, opinion and advice of the internal people toward fixing out or finding the solutions for the issue within the business organization. That is called as internal consultant. So there are some of the advantages. The first advantages of the internal consultant is that most probably the research need is going to be accomplished. It means that the internal team stand better chance to being ready, accepted by the employees in the subunit of the organizations where research is needed. At each and every corner of the business organizations, at each and every perspective of the business organization where there is need for the investigation, so the internal research would be more helpful, would give more chance to be better ready for the purpose of finding the solution. So the first advantage is that the internal consultants of the researcher always make the researchers to get more chances of being ready toward conducting the investigation. The second thing is that the internal team of the investigation or the research is that less time consumptions, exactly, as compared to the external. The time usage and the time consumption would be low, and then with respect to the time, if the research is going to be considered, so this is the positive point that we must contact the internal consultant toward the research. The other positive point is that the recommendations and the finding would be close related to the issue, because they are already busy and involved in this business organization. So the environment and the culture of the business organization is clear to all of them. So this would be one of the merits of the internal consultants toward the conducting the the research. And the last thing is that the internal team might cost considerably less. So if you talk about the cost consumptions with respect to the external research, so the internal research always occur low cost respectively, because the employees are already employed, the duties and responsibility is already assigned to them, and then we are the so there are 4 bullet advantages of the conducting the internal consultants. The first thing is that there is high growth of the better chances to be ready and make the research to be successful. The second thing is that with respect to the time consumption, there is low time consumptions toward the internal consultant or toward the internal research. And the third point is that with respect to the recommendation and ideas are more preferable. And the last thing is that there is low cost to be occur during the research. So after the positive points, we are here to talk something about the negative point of the internal consultant research. Is that the first thing is that in the view of long tenure as internal consultants, the internal team may quite possibly fall into the stereotype or fixed idea which wrong way of looking at the organization, and it is the problem. So if you talk about the low time, so the low time is also sometimes make the solution of that particular investigations or the output of that particular investigations to be in a problem in the future, because each and everything is required little bit more time to be more accurate and concrete. So the first thing is that the first negative point is that sometimes the shortage of time or the low graph of the time makes some things to be in a trouble after some time or with the passage of time. The other thing is that the scope, exactly the scope and the powerful collation in the organizations influence the organization team to consider this and misrepresent certain facts. Exactly, when someone is in hurry have more for the purpose of collecting the information toward some things, sometimes the unavailability of the employees lead the investigation to be low in graph. And the last the negative point of the internal consultant research is that there is also possibility that even the most high qualified internal research teams are not perceived as an expert by the staff and the management. So the low graph of the expert within the business organization is also one of the negative point within the business organization with respect to the internal consultant, particularly toward the research. Apart from understanding the advantages and disadvantages of the internal consultants toward the research, we are here to talk some things about the external consultants. For this purpose, we are here to know some things about the positive points. The positive points of the external consultants toward the research is that the external team can draw a wealth of experience from having worked with the different types of organizations that have had same or similar type of the problem. Exactly, due to the competitions and globalizations, due to the due to the different relationship between the consumer and customers, today most of the organizations are preferring external research as compared to the internal, because the scope and there are some of other organizations which might be having the same similar problem. So the different similar problems make some of the business organization to conduct the external research, because there are some of the similarity point, there are some of the integrated points that each and every business organization must be working. Example, if you today look to the globalization scenario of the business organization, there are many organizations, like if you talk about the Apple and Samsung, they do have some of the similarities in the term of providing goods and services to the consumers. So this might be one of the positive point of the external consultants. And we do see today at the national and international markets, there are some of the investigation which are always done at the external perspective. The other point of the positive point is that the external teams, especially those from the established research and consulting firm, might have more knowledge of current sophisticated or refined problem solving models through their periodic training programs, which the team within the organizations might not have access it. Exactly, there are some of the perspective of the management within the business organizations are not accessible or might not be implementable, or presently some of the business organization, due to some of the issues or factors, might not be using that one. So here we do require, here is the generation of the scope that we must be using the external consultant research. So this external consultant research positive point is that it is more better sophisticated in the term of problem solving, while using some of the training, which training, that training could be considered as external trainings. Exactly, if you look to some of the business organizations, apart from the conducting the internal trainings, so they do require the external trainings also. So the external trainings is one of the point, or the key point, that that would be too much sophisticated and helpful to the organization to conduct the external consultant research. So there are two bullet positive point of the external consultant. Let's talk some things about the negative external consultant of the research. The first thing is that cost of hiring. Exactly, if you hire one of the employees from other countries, so obviously it would be charging us, or charging the organization a little bit more as compared to the national or internal recruitment process. Let me give an example. If you are going to hire an Indian expert or skills or technicians to the organization to fix it out the problems, so this may occur higher charges in the term of transportations, in the term of cost living, in the term of or accommodations, or the term of providing other facilities to that particular employee. This is the first negative point of the external consultant of the research. The second thing is that addition to the considering time the external team take to understand the organization to be researched, they seldom get the warm welcome nor are ready accepted by the employees. Sometimes the employees are not going to be ready to do that particular task immediately, or might be due to some of the personal or non-personal problems. So if you bring some of the external employees to the organizations, due to the cultures, due to the religions, due to the other temperature of the business organization, he or she may not be ready as soon as possible. So this is also one of the negative point. And the last thing is that the external team also charge additional fees for their assistance in the implementation and evaluation pause. Exactly, apart from having their duties and responsibility, or if you assign a task of investigation, so they would be charging always a package of money for their extra work, or for their doing the research within the business organization. So the negative point is that conducting or having the extra fees toward the research is one of the negative point toward the external consultants. So for this purpose, we do have some of the paradigm of the research. There are two main paradigm of that form the basis of the research in the social sciences. So the two common and general paradigm toward the research has been used within the business organization at the national and international scenario. The other thing is that the crucial question is that divide the two is whether the methodology of the physical science can be applied to the study of the social phenomena or not. The major questions at the all research at the each and every corner of the world is that either we can implement this particular solutions to be founded toward this particular issue, is it possible to implement it or not? This is what the question has been generated. يعني بس هذه مارکت‌های ملی و بین المللی سوالی که همیشه در ذهن‌های دنیای بیزنسی وجود پیدا میشن و یا وجود دارن این است که آیا راهکاری را که ما بر خاطر از بین بردن این مشکل چه خدمات باشه و چه تولیدات باشه از بین ببریم قابل ایمپلمنت می باشن یا نیست، یا این ما و شما ایمپلمنت کرده میتونیم یا نمیتونیم. این سوالی است که از شروع تا آخر در ذهن‌های مردم چی شده دنیای بیزنسی باقی مانده. اما هر بیزنس به سطح ملی و بین المللی از خود را یک راهکاری دارند تا بتوانند که گراف تحقیقی را که اینا در مقابل یک ایشوز یا اینسیدنس چیز میکنند پیش میبرند، بعد از همیش به نقطه کامیابی خود برسانند. ما هیچ وقت گفته نمیتونیم که یک ریسرچ 100% بر ما شما چیز میکنن اوتپوتی 100% را میتونن، ولی with the help of the management process we can make it more effective and efficient. The paradigm that the rooted in the physical science is called as systematic, scientific or positive approach. So that paradigm of the research which has been rooted or which has been connected to the physical science, that is also known as systematic, scientific and positive approach. Scientific in the sense means that اگر ریسرچی که به اساس علمی و علمیت استوار باشه ما او را همیشه به نام چیز مسمى میکنیم، به نام scientific study یا scientific یا positive approaches میکنیم مسمى. That is called as positive approach, and the other thing would be the opposite paradigm has come to be known as the qualitative, ethnographic, ecological and naturalistic approach. The advocates of the two opposing ideas have developed their own values, terminologies, methods and techniques to understand the social phenomena. However, science, they made 1960, there has been a growing recognition that both paradigms have their place. It is the purpose for which research activity is undertaken that should determine the mode of the inquiry, hence the paradigm. So particularly the idea of the paradigm has been generated during the 1960s, which spread out the different knowledge toward the business organization for the purpose of conducting the different type of the research as per the requirement of the business organization. So the two paradigm of the research is that one is the positive, which is also known as the significant, and the other thing is also known as the ecological or naturalistic approaches. Some of the business organization, as per the requirement of them, they would be conducting an approach toward the research based on the nature or based on the natural sciences. So that is the natural sciences perspective of the research, and the another one was the scientific perspective of the research. So if you put it in summarize, there are two paradigms. One is the science perspective, and the another one is the naturalistic perspective of the research. Yeah, so if you look here in this paragraph or diagram, so we'll be understanding that there are three phases which shows as the decision making phase of the research. The second step would be planning, and the last step is that called as undertaken. Basically, the students, each and every research required a decision. The decision is come under the what to be done, and which is the need of the organization. So if you come to the matter of the what, so the researcher must be having a questions toward answering that particular questions. If there is any questions related to the research, so that must be answered. For example, if the Khakhana University decided to implement a project for a period of 3 years, so there are different questions asked by the internal or external, not matter. The thing is that the question must be always answered. A research where the question has been answered, that research could not be complete research. A research where there is lack of giving answer to the questions, that research must be undertaken. یعنی بزی مانا هر او تحقیقی که جا بر سوال داشت ما میگیم که او تحقیق واقعا به چی صورت دارن، به تحقیق صورت دارن یا او موضوع به تحقیق صورت دارن که باید پوش برده شون. اگر موضوعی که به سوال صورت نباشه، در او عرصه ما سوالی نکنیم، طبعا اون موضوع بر تحقیقی صورت نیست. وقتی که ما میگیم تحقیق، یعنی تحقیق یک چیزی باشه که ایجاد سوال و وجود داشته باشه. بعدا ما میتونیم که در این عرصه چیز کنیم، تحقیق کنیم. بعد از اینکه ما decision میکنیم what to do, and then we have to do the planning toward the different resources for the purpose of completing this particular research. So the other thing is that how, once we talk about the how, to gather the evidence to answer the research questions. یعنی بنان در این مرحله باید ما شما بعضی از معلومات را جمع آوری کنیم، بعضی از اسناد را جمع آوری کنیم تا ما بتونیم به سوالایی که در عرصه ریسرچ وجود دارن ما را چیز کنیم، جواب بدیم. Then the other thing is undertaken in means that collecting means that the required information to be collected, that is called as the implementation pause. So particularly with the combination of this decision, planning and undertaking, this means that what, how and collecting process, then we would be having operational steps, research, journal. This is a sample. Excuse me. This is a sample which can help the researchers to do better research. Yeah, I'm concluding here. Thank you so much. Before the conclusion, let me have a small overview on it. This is a small paragraph or a sample or a chart which shows us that each and every research process has three paths. Your pace, one is decision, planning and undertaken. And then we said that there are two paradigms. The first paradigm is called as positive and the positivist, and or it is also called as scientific, and the other thing is called as naturalistic approach, or it is called as ecology. And then the other advantages and disadvantages of the external consultant has been recovered, and advantages and disadvantages of the internal consultant of the research has been covered in our today class. Thank you so much from your kind attention.